Hey guys, how you going? I'm regularly getting asked how I set up my kayak. Now I've got a Radar 135 pedal drive by Wilderness Systems, and I've got an A.T.A.K 140, and recently I've also been using an A.T.A.K 120. So the way I set my kayaks up is so that I can take any one of those kayaks, and it only takes me minutes to get it ready and put it onto the water. And for years now I've been mucking around with my setup, and I'll keep mucking around with my setup, but I thought I'd run you through how I do it. So it's not, I'm not telling you should do it exactly the same way. It's purely so you can get an idea. You never know, there might be something that I'm doing and you think, oh yeah, fantastic, great idea. Anyway, probably enough staring at my ugly mutt, and let's just get into it and we'll have a look through the kayak. I'll walk. Alright, we'll start at the bow of the kayak. So on the A.T.A.K, you've got the heavy duty metal handles at the front of it. So my handles, I've got foam cladding over the handles that you use on water pipes and so on to stop them from bursting. What that does is it gives it a slightly better grip surface, and also on a hot summer's day the handles aren't real hot to grab. So we'll go around the boat and we'll talk about it as we go. Righto, I use the high capacity hood on the A.T.A.K. It's just brilliant. It gives me so much ability to store. I can stand tackle trays up inside of it. So you've got a large amount of space there. You can stand your tackle trays up if you want to take a lot with you, if you're going for a long period of time. I can put my gas cooker in here, I can put a dry bag in here, on top of the gas cooker, food, you name it. That thing's $1,000,000. One of the big advantages with it, you might note I did take the bungee cord off the front. So I've got other than the anchor trolley, I've got very little cord up the front here. Simple reason, trebles have a bad habit of catching cord, so I've got rid of any cord that is up here. But the high capacity hood is great for a couple of other reasons. One, it actually makes parking the paddle across a rod holder like that so much easier, less angle in it, and it's easy to grab if you're standing up. And the other reason, as you saw, is as a rod stager. So I've got, it comes with 2 rod stagers on it, and I've put some C-Deck, which is sound absorbing foam. Conceal's another one, which is what the A.T.A.K comes with. That's on there, and I've also got it where the paddle slides in. Really important, does 2 things. A, it deadens the noise that you make when you put the paddle there, so less noise through the water. And I've got another video about what all of that does, so that's on my YouTube channel. The other reason is because it helps grip the paddle, especially when the paddle's wet. So yeah, so it works as a rod stager like that. Moving right along, I have my Fishfinders set up on a ram ball mount, and the reason I do that is, as you'll notice, I've got a couple of ram balls here. So one is on the handle. So I also use an X grip for my phone. So if I'm using my phone to track what I'm doing, the X grip goes here and the phone sits there. If I'm taking photos with my phone, it's in my pocket of my vest. The other reason I have that there is so that when I'm using this in the A.T.A.K, right, I can offset the Fishfinder to here. But if you'll notice on the track of the A.T.A.K down there, I also have another ram ball there, so I can offset the Fishfinder right to the edge if I want to. So that's why I do it that way. Okay, inside of there is a waterproof battery pack with waterproof plugs. There's also a Ziploc bag, so I use 10 rechargeable AA batteries in there, and there's a Ziploc bag in there with replacement batteries should I ever need it, but generally I get a day out of it. The utility cover, which is only on the A.T.A.K, it's not on the Radar. Now, I also have a video on the channel about this, how to make it and so on. So what this is there's a plastic container inside of here. If I'm fishing salt water, I fill that, or mostly fill it, with fresh water. When I take a lure off that I've been using, I throw the lure in there. Helps clean the lure, so when I go to put it away, I don't have such a big issue with trebles and so on going rusty, right? It's also useful on the freshwater to throw your discarded lures into there, rather than have to muck around with tackle boxes, and then just at the end of the day you take them out and put them away. So it keeps everything in that area. I've also got underneath it, I've got more C-deck, so that's covered in C-deck on the top, and underneath is covered in C-deck, because if I'm putting any tools or anything in there, it saves it from doing that. When I put it down, it does that instead. So again, less chance of spooking a fish. The reason I'll cover the top of it in C-deck is because sometimes when you're standing, you might be standing on an edge and you might put your foot up there. Gives you more grip, and if I lie anything there, again, not much noise comes from it. So from a standing point of view, it's a lot better for me with the C-deck on there. Moving right along, I'll go back to the sounder for a second. So I've got a hood over the sounder, which is there is a company that makes them, Burley Pro. They're fantastic. I've actually had that on there since before I even knew about Burley Pro. I simply made it myself. It's very, very simple, but Burley Pro make a great product. There's no way I'd have a sounder these days without a hood. It's just crazy to not have it. Okay, so moving right along, depending on what I'm fishing for, but often I'll have, so if I'm fishing for something 35 to 80 centimeters in length, that's the net I'll use, and I don't put it up behind me because it acts like a sail. I put it there. All right, makes it very easy to get, very simple. I rarely ever use that center hatch there. It's not very accessible when you're out on the water. I put a rod holder like this. Now I can revert that to a trolling position. The reason I have it like that is because if I'm pulling a lure off or dehooking a fish, I simply put my rod in there like that, free spool it, right? And then there's less chance, if the fish flips around or so on, there's less chance of me winding up with a treble, the hook, whatever, in my hand. Right, so I've got no pressure on the line. I can just sit there and muck around with my pliers and get the hook out. If I'm changing lures, same thing. If you're out in a swell and you're bucking around a lot, same thing. There's less chance of you hurting yourself with it. So that's why I do it that way. But as I said, if I'm trolling, which I don't often do, but if I'm trolling, the rod holder, I'll either put a second one here or the rod holder is pointed out and down a bit. I have foam grips here. All right. I can either lay my paddle there and it just keeps it there, doesn't roll around or anything. The other reason I've got them there is that often I'll put one foot up on the side, and so it just gives me more grip when I've got one foot on the side and one on the deck. You can actually I can stand a foot on each one, which elevates you a little bit, which is handy. With the rod stager at the front, right? If I'm using, say, a diver and a surface lure, and I'm flipping them around cast for cast, I'll usually lie my rods along like this, right? And I'll just keep rotating them, pick one up, pick the other up. So it's pretty handy. I just put the butt of the rod into there and I lie the tip of the rod up over there, and then I can just pick each one up and go for my life. If I'm in a river, right, and I've got a couple of rods with me, I normally put my rods down there like that and put them into the the Railblazer grip there, and by lying the rod down like that, it stops it from, generally stops it, well, it stops it from catching on anything. And I don't have them standing upright like I do at the moment. Right, so if I'm going through narrow creeks and rivers, it's handy to lie them along the side there, I find anyway. I'll do that simply. There's various companies that make it. This one's Railblazer with a G grip, but you've also got A.T.A.K and RAM also make devices that go into tracks that would make it very easy for you to do that. Okay, moving right along. Brag mat is just hooked to the straps on the side. When I need it, I just unhook it. Simple stuff. Everything I'm doing, I'm trying to make it simple for me to use and get to. Okay, back of the seat, I have a pouch, particularly in case I don't use my pack. Right, my pouch has, I've got a small pair of pliers in my vest. My pouch has large pliers in it, which are tethered on, and it also has my grip anchor, right, which is hooked on, you'll see it in a minute, around the other side, and I can slip a tackle tray in there. That's really, really useful. If I'm fishing for Murray cod or any large saltwater type fish, I've got a release right floating net. Now I've got another video on the YouTube channel about that, so I'm not going to go on too much about that, but it's super light, clips onto my anchor trolley, and it's absolutely brilliant. Believe me, you need to look it up. As long as you're using reasonably not light line, it's fantastic. Camera mount. So at the back, tackle bag. The tackle bag clips in to here, so it's got 4 clips on it. Clips in. Typically, I'll usually take a bit of spare line with me. I don't take too many lures with me. I'll just take a selection for what I'm doing, and some soft plastics, a rain jacket, and a beanie if it's really cold, knife if I need it, and my gloves and sunnies and everything are always in there, face mask and so on. Scents, gloves for Murray cod, some scissors right at the back if I need them, torch and insect spray, jig heads for soft plastics. That's that. Have another mount at the back here in case I have the camera boom, which I'll show you in a minute, back here. I normally take all my rods with me when I'm transporting them in the back, but I use that. So this is the Wilderness tackle box designed for this and the thresher. So in here I'll normally put stuff in there that I'm only going to access when I'm up on the shore. So it might be my lunch, or sandwich, or something like that, right? Maybe some spare bits and pieces that I won't need on the water. Rudder. So again, at the back here, foam cladding rudder, which is off my old tarpon, which I've adapted to fit here, and a couple of holes, and that holds it in place. Works really, really well. A.T.A.K flag, A.T.A.K, Railblazer, they both make really, really good flags. This one comes with an LED light, floats. Fantastic bit of gear, absolutely brilliant. Anchor trolley on this side. Hey mate, here I've got flush mounts mounted into the top of the kayak, and I've made up, if I can get them out, you'll find these on the Facebook page or on my YouTube channel. So these are this is just poly pipe that I've made to fit into the flush mounts, and what it does is it gets my rods, my reels out of the water, out of the splash, but I've also notched them so that the whole lot just can't fall out, and if you angle them at the right angle, it holds them in there, but it's very easy to pull the rod out when you want it. Particularly useful when I don't use my pack. If I'm not in twiggy areas, I like my rods standing up. I usually put my bait casters here and my spin rods here. The anchor trolley, so that's my grab clamp there. I've got a little pouch there which I find very useful, and I've just got my lip grips stuck into the pouch. Makes it very easy to get. It takes us around to this side of the yak, and really at this point the only thing really left to talk about is the camera boom, which needs a bit of a lubricate. So this camera boom, I set it up. I can put it obviously at any angle I want. I can go up or down, and I can lengthen it or shorten it. The reason I usually have it here, or I have it here, is because I can just swing it like that, and I can change the view that I get. Now these are mounted on Railblazer mounts. Now this is the standard Railblazer mount, and you can now get a heavy duty one with nuts on them so that you can slide it. These ones here have got ATAK T-bolts in it with ATAK nuts, and what that does, if I get the tension right, it allows me, I can just move it like that and then nip it down, and it's stuck there. Now that's fantastic, but as I said, Railblazer now make a lower profile one, which they call the heavy duty unit, and you can buy little adjustable thumb nuts for it. But really, really great. And what this all allows me to do is almost all of this, obviously not this setup here, but but everything else I can transfer over to the radar. Takes me like 2 minutes, and it's all set to go. So you'll notice there that I've got the camera mount set closer to the seat, and that's something I can do that very easily with either kayak, and it makes the interchange from me going from one kayak to the next almost seamless. So I can decide I'm taking the pedal drive out today and put it somewhere, or I can take the radar out today and set it up for somewhere. So sorry, the ATAK. That's how I do my kayaks. How you do yours is up to you, and it's really important that you're comfortable with how you do them. How I do them isn't necessarily the right way. Probably the thing that I would say the most is you have to be comfortable with your setup, and what works for you is the best setup. This is just giving you an indication of what I do and how I do it. Alright, so that's it for me. I'm going to go and do some real work now, and I'm going to sign out. So